particular data stage architecture would work. Now let us start getting into what the set of sequential steps that we all need to follow in order to come up with what execution of any data stage job. So for that we need to follow step-by-step instructions. Meantime, please try to extract your files so that I log on to your system. So we'll get into the practical sessions from today. Anish, Gopal, so you guys can make it ready so that we'll set it up. Okay, Anish. Fine. I think Gopal, yours is fine, right? Yours is up and running. And Gopal? Yeah. So now, the first and foremost thing while building what set of sequential steps, so we need to set up what global properties. So like for example, adding our own users, groups and so on, or define any global property which is required in order to perform building data stage jobs and get them executed. For that we need to first get into the global properties. After that we have different repository activities, in the sense, in case if you are going to read data from or data from a file or table, first and foremost thing is what we need to create a repository which we call the metadata repository. So to do that, we can create a repository by importing it from a file or table and place it onto the repository. So to do that, we have a data stage manager client which we have it in pre 8.x data stage versions. From 8.0 onwards we have this part within this data stage designer. Now we got the metadata, global settings are ready. Now the next step is going to be what we need to start building a job in the designer. I repeat, start building data stage job in the designer. So by using what a file or table or whatever, so we need to start building what data stage job. And then once we do that, next step is going to be what compile that particular job. Once it is compiled, now the job is ready to get executed. So that's where we use what run and monitor jobs. We can run a job in a director and monitor a job in a director. That's it. So these are the steps that we need to follow in order to what create and run any data stage job or jobs, right? So let us try to follow that. I'm just making your system as a presenter. Gopal, you can just share your desktop now. Oh, now only you are logging in, Gopal, or oh God,
Yeah.
This will take time. Fine, we need to wait for 5 more minutes. Let it bring up all the services. Fine. So meantime, we will talk about other things. There's a question from Anish. When we install software, does it also create a repository while installing it? Yeah, by default it is going to create a global project. So within that you will have default repository, all predefined jobs. But if you want to create your own thing, we need to create. Yes, by default you will have one repository. Anish? So you'll have one repository, one project which will be ready. So this repository is going to be the file system based repository, which is UV, Universe Repository, Manish. So plus we also have DB2, that is what you call on the database side. So we have both. Actually, if you look at the 9.8.x data quality architecture, then it will have only pure file system based repository. From 8.0 onwards we have both. DB2 is a default where you will have repository elements plus file system. You will have both. Anish? Fine, looks like it is ready. Let us get into the datastage tool. So I am recording sessions, so I am going to share this, yeah, after a couple of days, so that you guys can play it back. Yeah. So now the first and foremost thing in the data stage is what we need to bring up what a client, which is going to be the data stage client. Yeah. So let me just log off so that we can start from scratch. So this is a VMware which contains what? Datastage 8.5 on Windows 2003 server. Now in this we have what different clients, like we talked about datastage architecture, right? So let us try to follow that. So within the architecture we have what we have seen: designer, which is highlighted here, then administrator, then you'll have a director, then you'll have console. So these are the 4 clients. Out of them, 3 clients are thick clients like designer, administrator and director, and 1 client is web console, which is going to be the thin client. So these are the 4 clients we have. So let us try to bring up the client where we are going to build data stage jobs. So that's where a designer client would come in. So I'm trying to open that. Yeah, let it come up. Yeah. Now we need to supply. Can you see here the host name colon 9080 whatever, then followed by username and password. By default username and password is what? DSADM. Then bottom, can you see project? This is a project. From where you will get that, that's where we need to get into administrator and create what global project. Yeah. So that's what we need to do over here. Yeah. Right. So we can see a red test project or whatever. So where do we do that? That's where the first step is what? Set global properties, which is going to be the what? One of the global properties what? Creation of our own user defined project. So let us bring up administrator client. So we'll cover both admin come developer so that any role if you want you can play. Yeah, can you see here? These credentials will be same for all. Yeah, this is what, admin client, right? Yeah. So let's log on to this. Yeah, can you see here? This is a starting page that we could able to see within this. Once we see that, we can see the version of a data stage and then start getting into the projects what folder or tab. Within that you can see all the active projects over here. Then apart from that, if you want to create our own project, you can create it. So let us supply a project name. Yeah. Let us say DS project. Yeah. And then say what? Okay. So under this particular location, all the folders and corresponding files will be created. That's what we call this is what? File system based repository, which means you will have system different folders plus files. On top of that, we are also going to create a jobs, all that, right? Even those things also will be saved onto this particular folder. Yeah? So let us say okay. Yeah. Now it is under the process of creation of a project. Let it get created. Yeah, can you see here? Now the project has been created successfully. Now you can get into this project if you want, and you will have common properties which we call default properties for every project and folder, like all these tabs you can see, right? Plus permissions on that. Yeah. Anyway, that we are going to talk. Yeah. Now apart from that, in the in the server side, we can also see what this particular project created. Under that you will have folders and corresponding files. Now let's get into a location where we have this project created. See IBM information server projects. Can you see projects here? Yeah, yeah, Gopal is doing that. Then within that, can you see our project here? DS project, I think this first. Yeah. So this is the project, and with all these folders, you'll get it. So this is what is a file system repository or UV file system, which is a legacy one, which is a traditional file system based database. And some other files are, these are all what basic files or whatever, which we don't need to worry. So this datastage knows how to take care of this repository activities, because this guy follows type 32 file, type 30 file system, so which we don't need to worry. Yeah. So internal to datastage, yeah, like how to read, how to write, all that. Yeah. Now what do we need to do? Now we have created global part, which is part of first step, right? After that, next step is going to be what? Metadata. For that, first we need to get into this particular datastage designer, and then go to file, yeah, and create a new job, which is going to be the parallel job. Can you see on the right side the repository with the underlying projects, folders, and so on, right? Yes or no? Yeah. If you close it, then we can also get connected to our own project. That's one way. Let us try to open the designer client. Oh, what happened? It's taking time. Oh, remote there's a problem, huh? Okay. Let us try. Wow. What happened? Password is wrong. The password again. Select the new project. DS project. Say login. That's it. So now we are trying to login on to the project which we created. Yeah. Now here we can see different types of jobs: server, parallel, sequence, and other types of jobs. Out of them, most widely used type of job is what? Parallel job. I think I've talked about that. Why is this? Why I don't have access? Huh? I have, I think, right? Yeah, fine. Now this is what is the designer client, where we can see on the right side project name and repository elements. On the left side, this is what we call tools palette, where we have different tools within this palette, right from general, quality, and so on. We have what different stages we call. This is a stage, this is a stage, and then we have many database stages, then we have many development and debug stages, and then we have file-based stages, processing stages, real-time, restructured. So we have what different types of stages within this tools palette. So once we could able to see that, next step is going to be what we need to know, like how to build a datastage job. So this is going to be the canvas or workspace or parallel canvas which will be used to design and develop datastage jobs. Now, just to start with a simple job, we'll start with what? Development or debug stages, where we can see n number of stages over here. And first and foremost stage is what? A row generator. So just click on that, drag and drop onto this canvas. That's what we need to do in order to get this stage onto this parallel canvas. So if you don't want, you can just close this so that you'll get a lot of space. Yeah. Fine. Now we got this particular stage under this canvas. Next, so let's understand what this particular row generator does. So row generator will be used in order to generate mock data. I repeat, row generator stage will be used in order to generate the mock data. So for example, let us say you got into some production issue in the production environment, and now we cannot fix some of the issues in production. In that case, we need to reproduce similar issue in the development environment. So, but customer would say that data should not be disclosed or should not be sent outside the production environment. In that case, we need to create the similar data of what we have in the production. To do that, we use what? A row generator stage. Yeah, fine. And then once you generate rows, if you want to see like what are the rows that were generated, then we can see what? Peak stage, where peak stage will be used just to display the data of what was produced by the row generator. That's it. Yeah. This is just like a print statement in any programming language. Yeah. Now let us try to connect, because as we discussed as part of concepts, right, ETL concepts, read, transfer and load, these things we need to take care, right? So in order to read the data, transfer it, we need to connect these two stages. To do that, select this particular stage and get connected to another stage, which is what? The peak stage. That's it. So this is what we call a link, through where we could transfer the data from row generator to a peak stage. That's it. Now we have just connected. Next step is what? We need to know, like, how to configure each of these stages. So now we are going to discuss about that. For that, let us select row generator, double click on this, or right click and open properties. Can you see here? Properties, one of them. Remember, when you try to connect from here to here, red link, just highlight it, hold the what I call right mouse pointer, drag and drop. Can you see there's an encircled one which is along with the mouse pointer, and then once you reach this particular stage, release the mouse pointer. Now we have already connected, that is why we are getting this particular message box. Clear, right? That's it. Now let us try to configure the properties. Yeah, so here you can see output properties, where we can, by default you will have 10, which means 10 rows it would generate automatically based on the type